Welcome to Mondays at the Mill. I'm Jodi. I'm the owner of Flower Hill Fleeces and Fiber Mill.
And I'm Iz.
And this is episode 3. Thanks for joining us, liking, subscribing, and commenting. We really appreciate it. And we made it to episode 3.
We made it to episode 3. We have a lot to cover today, actually, because there has been a lot going on at the mill. So I think we should just jump right in.
Yep. Let's talk about what's going on in the mill. We've been really busy working on our Shetland, getting it back onto the shelves. Everybody seems to love Shetland, and we love it too, since those are the sheep we raise. So let's take a look at what we've been working on this week.
So the first one is very unfortunate. We both decided to wear black today, so I'll have a little extra footage. But this is Bambi, and I'll let my mom tell you more about her.
So it might be really hard to tell, but her fleece is black but heathered with gray. She's a really pretty dark looking sheep on the hoof, but she has a really pretty dense amount of gray in here. And unfortunately, like we said, it's like a little hard to see. I can hold it up, but I don't know. Isabel has some footage, so maybe she'll be able to show that footage. This is unwashed. One of the really cool things that happens with our Shetland when we wash it is because it has a lot of crimp, it's gonna bloom, it's gonna puff up a lot. So this is not yet washed because we were literally just pulling this off the machine yesterday, and we wanted to make sure that we could get this so we could show you, because once it's washed it takes a couple days for it to dry.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think the last drop you had that much of a color this dark.
I did.
You did?
I had alfalfa. Alfalfa,
Okay.
It doesn't have quite as much gray. She's a little bit more black, but kind of similar, but not exact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this is a really special one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll show the other. This is another skein. I'll show it up close. And this is
Coco Chanel. She's a really beautiful chocolate brown. We did do 50-50 Shetland Merino on this one, just to up the actual amount we have so that we could run a bigger run. This was very popular last time, and I still had some left, so we wanted to do another run. She also is gonna plump up a lot more once we wash it. What else can I say about Coco?
I mean, Coco's a very special sheep because when she was born, she actually ended up being an orphan, which sometimes happens during lambing season. And she was a triplet, the only triplet bunch we've ever had on the farm, right?
Right.
We've only ever had one triplet bunch. And unfortunately, sometimes that's pretty difficult. Most of the Shetlands have either a single or twins. Mm-hmm. And her mom was Icelandic, right?
Yes, her mom was Icelandic and her dad was a Shetland. And what's kind of interesting about Coco is you wouldn't have any idea that she has any Icelandic in her at all. She doesn't look like an Icelandic sheep. Her fleece isn't anything like an Icelandic sheep. But she was one of 3. Unfortunately, her sister passed away. Her brother, the ram, did survive. Mm-hmm. But she's still with us and she's lovely. But because she was sick when she was orphaned, she lived in the house for a while, and she was our house lamb. Mm-hmm. And she loved it.
Mm-hmm. And at the time we had a German Shepherd named Leo, and he was definitely getting up there in age. I think he was probably 12 at the time. And if you know anything about German Shepherds, 12 is pretty old for a German Shepherd. He lived a few more years after that, but he was pretty much an old guy in the house, and she would kind of curl up next to him. It was really sweet.
Yes.
She was kind of taking him on as her surrogate mother, adoptive mother.
He was part of the herd, like the flock. Mm-hmm. And they seem to like each other. Yeah. So but she's perfectly fine now, happy, and went back to the flock after she got better. And she does produce a really beautiful fleece. Yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Yes, and I think the other kind of cool thing about the difference between these two is that you can kind of see a little bit. I don't know if it'll be that obvious. I'll move away a little bit. But so this is fully Shetland, and then this one we mixed 50-50 with Targhee, right?
Merino.
Merino. Okay,
yeah.
my bad. And even just that bit of merino in here, you can kind of see how much more plump this is, having it be in the unwashed state. So I think maybe next week we'll update with what it looks like.
Yeah, we'll
after
get it
being
washed,
just
and then you can get a really good
Yeah.
sense of what they look like.
Great. And the other thing we've been working on is, right, this is kind of something I really wanted us to have, and that's roving. So this one's a little different, but that one is cocoa, and I made up a few 2-ounce bags of everything that was going to go into these yarns that we milled all the way through. But after the roving state, I bagged up 2 ounces so that any of our hand spinners out there can maybe get their hands on some of this. And I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah. We find sometimes when we're doing a run that you end up with a little extra. Just, I try to do the math as precisely as possible, but we always end up with a little bit at the end, which doesn't make sense for us to try to make it work to get to the actual spinning. So oftentimes, before Iz joined me, is that it would go into a bag and would just go into a corner, and I've been waiting to either mix it with something else, or if, say, I had cocoa reappear again, then I would get that mixed in with it because it's pretty similar. But Isabel encouraged me, because she's getting back into spinning, to kind of add this to our repertoire of choices. And so you're hopefully in the next couple weeks or the next drop, we'll have some roving, both from stuff that we're running and maybe stuff that actually doesn't ever get spun to yarn, but might be something interesting that I've found along the way.
Definitely. I think our roving is also especially nice. This is like an especially nice blend. So when I saw it coming out of the machine, I was kind of like, I would like to spin that. So maybe someone else would like to too.
You can spin up your own special cocoa in your own way.
So that's kind of an exciting thing. And then the other is we are working on this yarn. I think it's going into, what is it going into now? It's been through the carder.
It's been through the draw frame once. It needs to go through the draw frame a second time
and
before
then it will
goes.
be spun.
Yep.
So that's probably in the next few days. But this is another version of Bambi. It's one of her more recent fleeces. And you can probably tell it's still very charcoal.
Yeah, but if you see it next to her, so these are probably 2 years apart, and so you can tell she's gotten a little grayer as she's aged.
Yes, but this is so lovely. This is actually, I think, maybe one of my favorite colors that has come out of the mill so far. And again, when it came through, I was just like, you know what? I think maybe someone else would want to spin it too. There's something really gratifying about spinning, a few ounces of wool. So,
Yeah, and it's prepped and ready to go, and you don't have to take it apart. It's not like a big braid. You can spin it directly from this bag. So we'll have some of that. We'll probably have some other choices too, because as we're going through more of the Shetland, and even what else we're running, we'll probably have a variety of bags, but limited. Whatever we have left is kind of what you'll see.
And for anyone local, we'll make sure that some of those are at the events that we have at the end of July. Is
the Steel Valley Yarn Crawl when we will be at the Oakmont Yarn Collaborative. That's July 31st through August 2nd. And then our other event is Stitchburg, which is August 21st through the 23rd, but we'll make sure that information is in the below.
Right, definitely. So we'll be at those two events. We'll make sure that there's a few different options of these at those events in person, if you're in person, but also we're going to reserve some for online as well. So, because hopefully some of you listening out here aren't in Pittsburgh too, and we want to make sure that you can get your hands on it if you want it.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think that is pretty much all that's been milled this week.
Yep.
These are pretty big runs, so it has definitely been taking a lot of time.
Yep.
I also just wanted to talk a little bit more about the sheep that we have and just the properties of a Shetland fleece, since that's kind of what we're most excited about spinning from our flock. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to ask you, why did you decide on Shetland sheep, and what have you noticed about the different properties of that fleece?
So we decided to get Shetland sheep. Actually, my husband was the one who decided we should get some sheep. we already had horses, and I didn't dislike having the horses, but you kind of look up at the horses. So I said that when we decided to get sheep, that I didn't want enormous sheep, because one thing I have learned in our family is that every time an animal, whether it's like a family pet or livestock or a horse or whatever, they suddenly become just like part of my personal flock. Like I'm the mom to everyone, which is okay. I'm happy to do that. But I wanted a size of sheep that I could handle, which I knew would be primarily my job. So I didn't want kind of a big sheep that I couldn't manage. So when we decided to look at sheep, I just said they had to be kind of small dog size. So Shetland sheep, the ewes are approximately 70, 80 pounds, and the rams get maybe around 100, 110. So not bigger than the, dogs we currently have, or the dogs we call the puppies. So it was something that I knew I would be able to manage to catch. The other reason we chose Shetland sheep was for the fact of that I already was a knitter, and we figured we were starting small. We did not intend to get big like this, but when we started is that I would learn how to spin, learned how to spin also. We got a spinning wheel, and we were going to process them and just be able to use them ourselves. Like most people, you buy a fleece, you learn to spin, you create your own yarn. But it kind of steamrolled after that.
So how many sheep did we start with? Maybe that's important.
We started with 6. We brought 6 home, but we had reserved 3 lambs at that point that we were getting a couple months later. So what I would say within the first 4 months, we had 9 sheep.
And I would just like to add, in retrospect, for anyone looking to get sheep and thinking that they can spin 9 fleeces in a year, that's probably not going to happen. But I don't know that we knew that at the time.
No, I don't think we knew that, because I had not yet spun a fleece. I had not yet processed a fleece by hand prior to getting the sheep. So we really didn't know exactly what we were getting into.
Within the first year, you sort of realized that you were not going to be able to process all of the wool yourself. And that was when you originally looked for a mill.
Right.
And you had your wool milled for about a year or 2 at a mill that's actually no longer near us anymore.
Yeah.
But then that kind of spiraled the rest of it. But okay, so you answered half the question, but the other half of the question is, what do you notice about a Shetland fleece?
Oh, so Shetland fleeces can run from very fine, super soft, very fine fleeces to mid, not as great, maybe not as soft. But I would say generally, I think that they are a really nice fleece, even if you get one that's super fine or one that I would say would be kind of mid-grade. They're still a beautiful fleece typically, and you can use it to next to skin soft depending on what your comfort level is. Even our least soft Shetlands, I'm not bothered by. Somebody else might be, but I think generally they're a longer staple. Our Shetlands run anywhere between maybe 4 and 6 inches for the staple, and that's the cut end that's closest to their body, and then how long it grows. I think the other thing that's really cool about Shetlands is that you get such a wide range of colors. The Shetland Sheep Breeders Association has like a whole table or a whole classification of colors and then characteristics. Like, do they have spots? Is their belly dark? Is their belly light? I don't remember them all. I can't
There's
even.
a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know the proper way to say a lot of the names. So
it is
pretty
really
much we run from white sheep all the way to black sheep and everything in between those. But I do think it's really cool because you can have really a wide variety of colors. And I do kind of enjoy the fact that they change over their lifetime. Like our black sheep tend, like myself, getting a little gray around the edges. Our white sheep pretty much stay white. But everybody else has a tendency sometimes to get a little lighter or a little darker. And so I think that makes them really unique because their fleeces are not exactly the same from year to year. The same way our hair changes with age and everything. I think it's kind of interesting to watch that. So yeah, I think that's really kind of cool about why but generally I would say your dad picked them.
Yes,
I gave him
definitely.
some guidelines, and he went out and he found the farm that was close to us. And I would say, like puppies, you should not go look at lambs because you will fall in love with them, and then you will want to buy all the lambs because they are super cute. And we didn't even get close to them when we went to look at them. You couldn't get close to them. Like they were all kind of running around and everything, and we're trying to point out the ones to the farmer, like, oh, we want that one, or we want that one. But we fell in love really quickly.
At the time, the farmer had one set of bottle twins where the mom was feeding the ram, but she wasn't feeding the ewe baby. And we saw them in the barn and decided to bring them home. And I think she was kind of relieved because, you know, in retrospect, when you have a bigger flock, having a bottle lamb is sort of an inconvenience.
Yes.
It's fun because they're so sweet, so it's really nice to feed them. But also you have to do it very regularly, like any baby. And so it becomes a lot of work. And, you know, I think she probably was...
She was probably
realizing
really glad to
yeah.
see them go.
Yes.
And I will say that bottle lamb that we first brought home, we kind of mentioned in a previous episode. That's Ramona, who is Ernie's best friend. And hopefully at some point we'll get some footage. I know everybody mentioned they'd love some footage. It's a very secretive relationship, so I don't know how much we'll get. But Ramona was that bottle lamb, and I think that's why she's continued to be such a friendly, sweet girl, because we had to grab her a lot to feed her a bottle.
Definitely. Yeah, and she has also been a mom to a bunch of really beautiful lambs as well.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I wanted to mention before we move on that I think is cool about the Shetland breed, and you didn't really mention it that much, is that there's such also a range of their crimping too. Like some of them are really crimpy, some of them have like ringlets, and then other ones are more, I wouldn't say straight, but like more...
They're more wavy. Like they go
wavy.
from very crimpy, you know, very tight crimp, to kind of like ocean waves.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool when you take the fleece off during shearing season, just to see like the broad range of colors and consistencies of all of those sheep.
Yeah. I think the other thing, to add one more thing about Shetlands, is they do really have interesting personalities. They are kind of dog-like. I don't know enough about other sheep breeds, but I would say ours have very distinctive personalities. They all kind of make their personalities known pretty quickly, especially lambs when they first enter the world here. Their personalities come out pretty quickly, and they have kind of maintained those personalities.
Definitely.
We have
passed them on as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we've had sheep that I would say are like our guard sheep, like they're like the head of the flock, and that seems to have been passed down from mother to daughter over the years. Or, you know, somebody who is a very shy sheep tends to produce more shy lambs. It's not a definitive, but we have seen those characteristics, and they do, you know, we really have very distinctive personalities. Over time, as we film more of these videos and go out in the field, we'll give you more of a sense of who are our big characters out in the field, because we do have a few.
The thing that always shocks my friends when I say that we have kind of a fair amount of sheep, like almost 40 if you include.
We have 40, including the rams,
Yeah.
we have about 40.
Yeah. So not huge. It had been bigger in the past, but I do think that you know pretty much the names of all of your sheep, and you can pretty much point them out. And so I'll see my mom going out to the field, and if I'm out with her, she'll like say hello to all of them by name and everything like that. And sometimes, I'm sure if you're a farmer, this is like no news to you, but it's kind of crazy to have 40 different animals you know by name, and you can pick out of the flock and everything. Like sometimes I'll get it wrong. I'll be like, oh, that's Blackberry, and she'll be like, no, that's not Blackberry, that's someone else. So, you know, you do spend enough time with them that you know their personalities pretty well.
I do, yeah. Yep.
Great. The other not so good thing that happened today that I figured we could show you is the washing machine. We talked about it last week, and it is one of the pieces of equipment in the mill that seems to be giving you a lot of trouble.
It's very finicky and decided to not work properly yesterday, but we have some video of me trying to fix it.
And we'll cut to that now.
Yep. Okay, hear that sound in the background? I think I fixed it with a little help from a friend. So it's fixed now. I don't remember if I mentioned that in the video, but I'm pleased to say that my friend Andrew at Belfast, through some text messages, helped me get it fixed, and it was not a major ordeal. So we're back in business.
We're back in business. And knock on wood, it doesn't break again. The past few weeks, it's been finicky.
Yes.
Yeah, but
and we also lost power yesterday, so that kind of just added to the mountain of issues.
Definitely. Yeah, but it's back up and running, thank God. And then the other thing is that I did take some footage of kind of what was going on in the mill today. We had almost every machine going. Mm-hmm. And so I just figured maybe we could talk a little bit about the different pieces of machinery in there, the different processes, what you like, what I like, stuff like that. So I think the first thing that we had started this morning was the spinners.
Yes. So we had enough buckets of roving ready to start the spinner, so we got that going. And then we got the fiber separator up and going again. And then you started working on taking some of the yarn that was already made and making it into skeins. Mm-hmm. And then I got the carder going. This is all after getting the washing machine fixed.
Right.
So the washing machine is in the basement. The majority of the mill is up here on the first floor. And so it's hard to go in between. So now that Isabel is here, it actually makes my life a lot easier because I couldn't bop down to the basement as easily. But knowing she's upstairs keeping an eye on machines, I could go downstairs and work on the washing machine. And then once we're both up here in the mill now, we can kind of get everything running all at the same time, which is the goal and is the most productive. When I was here by myself, I could, on a really good day, if there was no glitches and nothing was like going wrong, I think I could get 5 machines going. But I was like, if you had a GPS of my walking movements, it would be like absolutely crazy. I mean, I think I walk miles every day. Like getting 10,000 steps in is not a problem when you work in a mill but they're short steps. There's not
very short.
But now with Iz helping me, we can get all the machines going and we can split kind of the room in half, and she can keep an eye on half of the room and I can keep an eye on the other half of the room. So what's your favorite thing to do in the mill right now?
Well, the first thing that I was going to say was about the 10,000 steps thing. Oh. And when I was a little kid, I had some sort of game on my Nintendo DS that was you were making pizzas, and the game is that you had to do you had to like take the orders and you had to make the pizza, and you just kind of like were going around and you're like playing the game like this, and I kind of feel like I'm in a simulated version of that when I'm here. That I'm like, okay, so this machine is done. Okay, take that off. Okay, go check on this other machine. All right, fiber separator. Let's add some fiber to the fiber separator. The carder is getting low. The carder can't get low, so you got to go to the carder. So it's just sort of back and forth and back and forth. But I do think that it keeps it much more fun. I can't imagine being on, I'm sure in some mills if they're working crazy big amounts, like we're a very small operation, So I am getting to work on multiple machines at once.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helps it go faster, and it's really gratifying to kind of like have multiple tasks, because you do have some waiting time sometimes.
Yeah.
And so if I was just waiting, I'd probably get bored.
Yeah, but you're kind of ping-ponging between machines.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But back, so you asked what was my favorite. So
Yes.
far, my favorite thing to do is actually make the skeins. And
Which makes me so happy because it's my least favorite thing to do.
I love tying the knots. I tried to get some footage of me tying the knots because I don't know, it's so satisfying to see a whole skein come together and to kind of, you know, see how much is there. Because at that point, we've done the math. Maybe we have a general idea of how many skeins we're going to make, but it's really nice to see, oh, okay, this made 10 skeins. This fleece made 10 skeins. This fleece made 8. This fleece, because we mixed it, now is making like 24, and just kind of see it all come to an end. I think that's kind of satisfying.
You're kind of seeing the end result of all of the other steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also just really love tying the knots.
Okay, that's good. Because it was the thing when I was doing this all by myself, is the thing that I would put off last. I would just like I would get like yarn made, but then I was like, that was my stalling part.
What's your favorite? Yeah.
So I have a favorite machine, but then I have a favorite process.
Okay, go
My
for it.
favorite machine is the fiber separator, because it can run with nothing on it and nothing will happen. Like it's not gonna, there's nothing like, so you can kind of like, if you get the fiber on there and you have to run and do something else, if it runs out of fiber, it's okay. Like nothing bad's gonna happen. Whereas like the carder, you have to be continually feeding it, especially because we're making roving, but if you were making a bat or something else, you have to constantly be feeding it. So you have to keep an eye on it because you can't have a break in it.
And let me just really quickly say, so the difference between the fiber separator, I don't know that everyone uses a fiber separator. If you're picking really well, some mills will just go straight to the carder. We have a fiber separator, and the really satisfying thing about the fiber separator, it's taking the picked yarn, so it's in like little clumps, and then it's going through the machine and coming out as like a cloud. And that cloud is really fluffy, and it's a great consistency. I think it's my favorite texture in the mill. And so if there's nothing on the conveyor belt, it's just kind of slowly getting the wool out that's left in those rotating combs,
Rollers,
the
the
rollers
workers and everything. Yeah.
So it's not going to mess up the machine. It's not going to mess up the fiber that we're working with. It can just kind of, you can come back to it, leave a spot, and add more fiber. With the carder, the difference is that you're making roving. So if there isn't a continuous amount of fiber being put on the conveyor belt, that roving will get really thin, and that will not be good when we go to the next few machines. And especially it would not be good if that happened and then we got to the spinner, because it just would like totally mess up the whole process. So if you haven't been in a mill, which probably most people haven't, I just wanted to explain that.
Yeah, consistency at the carder is key. And that means making sure that the right amount of fiber is going in there. So you kind of you do have some time. Like it's not like you can't turn away from it and deal with something else, but you do have to keep an eye on it. And at some point, we'll probably give you like a whole tour in the mill, and you'll see that the whole process is set up in a very specific way, so that if you're at one machine, you can quickly eye the other machines very easily. But sometimes when you're working on one machine, it's pretty detailed, like especially setting up the spinner. So when I'm setting up the spinner, I'm tending not to really run anything else. That's going to be the first thing I get set up in the morning.
You would not want the carder and the spinner to be both on and you running them yourself if you're setting up the spinner.
Yeah.
Because it would just be so stressful. But now that I'm here, you can do both.
Yes.
And one of us just takes one side of the mill.
Right. And when I was working by myself, I would set up the spinner first and then get the carder going. And that way, once the spinner is going and barring any issues, I can kind of like do a pass by, like a quick look, make sure everything's okay. But I couldn't start the carder, and then I'm just not that good. Maybe another year down the road, I'll get really good at that. But my favorite machine is the carder, because it's kind of where all the exciting stuff to me happens. It's like where we combine fibers. It might be where we're throwing something interesting into the mix, like sari silk, or we're combining Shetland with merino, and that's kind of where like some of the magic is happening.
Yeah.
And it's where we're making the roving. So ultimately, I'm excited to get to yarn. Like, I love the spinner. I want to make yarn, but I think kind of getting to play with mixing stuff, it's like kind of like cooking. Like, you kind of get to mix stuff together on the carder.
I would say that the carder is the most creative place.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight into what it's like to actually be at the mill.
Yeah. And how excited I am to have somebody else working here with me, because it's really helpful.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that I wanted to add is I've only been here a few weeks, but one of the things that I really like about working with you is that we kind of know each other's patterns. So, you know, I'm a little bit spacey at times, so I'll like, oh, okay, I got a phone call, I'm going outside, and then she just kind of takes over. Or if she's like, okay, I'm going downstairs to the washing machine, then I'm like, okay, I can kind of take over. So it's just very natural to
It's easy
figure
when
it out.
when you're related.
Yeah, definitely.
We kind of know each other.
For sure.
Yep. Okay, what's next?
The next thing is that we both actually have some projects going.
Yeah.
If could take just a little bit of time to talk about our projects, would you start with your
Sure.
project?
Yep. So I've been working on this for a while. This is the Nebula Sweater by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits. It's a little hard to tell right now, but I've got the body done, and I feel like it's hard for me to tell here, but here's the, I need to get the neckline on, and I am going to put long sleeves on this. She shows this as either a short sleeve sweater or a long sleeve, but I'm going to put long sleeves on it because I'm not really a summer sweater wear, so I think I will get much more use out of it. This is a drop shoulder construction. It was knit from the bottom up. I will say, if I can just like kind of brag for a minute, is that this was a tubular cast on bottom up, and I think I had to cast on 250 stitches in a tubular cast on, and any of you knitters out there know that that can be really challenging, so I'm really happy with it. I'm really proud of myself. I really do love a tubular cast on. It really makes a nice cast on, but it's a lot of work. This is the first bottom-up sweater I've done in a while. I'm pretty happy. I tried it on this morning. I showed you.
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty good.
It looks great.
This is in one of our colorways, Peony. And I'm really excited for the color because I think it's the right color for me.
Yeah.
I sometimes don't pick the right colors for me, but I think this was a good one. So I'm hoping to have this done at the Steel Valley Yarn Crawl pop-up so everybody can see it, but don't hold me to it. But it's pretty close.
If you're in AC, you'll definitely be able to wear it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my project. What have you been working on?
So I haven't spun on a spinning wheel probably since I was in undergrad, and that's going on 5 years. So I decided the other day, I found actually a random, you were going through some things in the house, not in the mill, and you found a roving set, 4 ounces of braid that you had dyed many years ago. And I think it was
Cheviot.
Yeah, it was Cheviot. So this is just an example of like, it didn't look like this, but what I was pulling from. And you had it in a box, and so I was like, hey, can I have this? And you were like, sure. And so I just sat down at the spinning wheel, and I did this in like 2 days. And it's not washed yet, and I definitely overspun it.
But it's pretty good for not sitting at the spinning wheel.
And I think it's about worsted weight, and I'm hoping that once it's washed, it kind of helps with a little bit of my errors.
I think it'll relax a little bit.
Yeah. It's definitely not any colors that I would crochet with or make anything with, so I think I'm actually going to send it to a friend. But I feel like they'll appreciate it, so yeah, that's kind of I feel like this is a good situation because I don't use a lot of wool, but or use a lot of yarn, but I like making it, so I'll be a very good employee. I won't be stealing very much from the stash. Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Well done.
Yeah, it's very meditative. Hand spinning is like very meditative. It's nice to sit down. And my favorite part of the hand spinning process is definitely plying. I feel like that's so fun.
Yeah, because then you really get to see what it's going to be.
And I definitely messed up on one of them. So one of the things I was happy with was there was a lot of it that I pulled it into 4 sections. And three of the sections I did correctly, but one of the sections I turned it around. So some of this is more of like, maybe you can see here. Let's see. There's some where the colors aren't matching up, and then some of it the colors match up really well. I don't know. Maybe it's nice to have some variation.
That's the beauty of inconsistency of color management.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So I did my best, but yeah, I'm hoping to hand spin some more
Nice.
wool in the future. Yeah.
Well, you'll have access to it.
Yeah. I think my next hand spinning, I would really like to figure out how to spin Angora.
Well, please do it away from me because I'm allergic.
I'm also allergic to it, but it's just so soft, you know? Okay, maybe not.
Maybe not in the mill. She can spin Angora at her own house. Okay. I'll lend you the spinning wheel and you can take it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You have actually one more project.
I have one more project.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to talk about it. We can't show it to you today.
We can't show it to you yet. Sorry, I forgot what we were going to talk about. I've been working on a pattern that highlights the 2 yarns that I dyed for the Oakmont Yarn Collaborative for the Steel Valley Yarn Crawl. For the last couple years, I have been dyeing them an exclusive colorway, and when I can, I try to plan a pattern, write a pattern, and have a sample made up so people can see what to do with that. I think like any fiber festival or event you go to and you buy something and you're like, what am I going to do with this? I want a souvenir. So I kind of like the idea that here's a pattern. It's always free, and that way then people can buy the yarn and then they know, oh, I could do this with this. I've seen it already knit up. So I have a pattern that I'm really excited. It's an accessory, and it's an accessory that I love to wear. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to show it to you here when we get closer to the event.
And you finished it, what, 2 days ago?
2 days ago. It's taken me a little bit of time because I don't have, like I mentioned, I don't have as much knitting time anymore.
Maybe can we just say what 2 yarns you knit with?
So it's a fingering weight yarn. Mm-hmm. And a fingering weight Surrey, 100% Surrey alpaca. And in sections you use both of those yarns, and in sections you only use one of those yarns. And if you like Surrey alpaca, you will really love this because it is squishy and soft and very warm. So
it looks really good with the color that you dyed that we cannot tell you yet.
Yeah, it's a surprise. Yes.
In a week or 2. We can reveal it.
We'll be able to reveal it. And whether or not you're available to be in the area to go to the yarn crawl, the pattern will be free. It'll be on the website. You'll be able to access it. And I think we're talking about maybe doing some kits that would be our own colorway that would be separate from what we're doing for the yarn store. So those of you who aren't local to the Pittsburgh area, you'll have an opportunity to get your hands on something similar and knit something for yourself if you're interested.
I would say, as the daughter, that if you are local to Pittsburgh and you're planning to go to the Oakmont Yarn Collaborative to get the exclusive Jodi of Flower Hill Fleeces colorway, get there the first day. Because last year, it sold out on the first day.
It did sell out on the first day.
You made more this year.
I did, yes.
However, I know from the many years that you've been doing this that it tends to go pretty quickly. So mark your calendars for that first day, and if you want to, get there on the first day. Or have a friend go for you.
Yes. Yeah. Or call the store. I don't know if they'll be selling it online, but you can try. We'll try to give you all the ways, but I don't know what the best way, but it does usually go quickly. So that's very kind of people.
Which is really cool.
Yes, it's very kind of people to get that excited. It makes me excited too.
Yeah. All right. That is pretty much all the projects that we have going on right now.
Yes.
And we're good about not putting on too many projects. But sometimes.
Sometimes I have a lot of projects there in waiting. They're like ladies in waiting right now.
Yeah. But speaking of patterns and speaking of pattern designers, we are going to tell you about 3 One-Skein patterns today. And these are all patterns designed by you.
Yep.
And right now we're very low on stock, but we do have a lot of single skeins that if you want to buy before the next restock and you want a cute little summer project that's one skein, won't make you too warm, these are definitely good options for that, and will get you ready for the fall or the winter.
Yep.
The first one that we're going to talk about, actually before we talk about it, right now, right here, pause. These patterns are going to be on the site, flowerhillfleeces.com, and we are going to give a discount code so that for the rest of summer, these patterns are free. So the discount code, I'll put it here, but Mondays 2026. And you can use this code through August 31st.
Yes.
And it will be free to you. So get your hands on the pattern while you can, download them all. And yeah, not to brag, I think they're great patterns. So
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
And you're a very good pattern designer. And how often are patterns free? So
Right.
get your hands on the patterns. All right, so back to the first.
Which one do you want to start with?
Let's talk about first the Cobblestone Mitts.
Okay. So these are the Cobblestone Mitts. And they're just a really simple mitt pattern that uses one skein of DK weight yarn. These I designed exclusively for the Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Festival that happened last year. And this was a special colorway that I milled here at the mill. We don't have this color, but we do have something similar.
Can you pick out one of the ube speckle?
Sure.
You can show it next to it.
Yep. So
We still have a few of these ube speckle. It'd be
Yeah.
great with that.
yeah, so this was just a different speckle, same base, different speckle, but we have the ube speckle. But really any solid color, but it's a very simple knit and purl pattern. I don't make complicated patterns. I want these to be kind of easily on and off your needles. And I think mitts personally make really great gift knits. They don't take very long to knit. You don't have to worry too much about sizing. So if somebody has really long fingers or whatever, and I think generally they're just kind of like something quick and fun to do. And like is said, a great summer project because you're not sitting there with like a lot of wool on your lap.
Definitely. And how fun. We have this sort of sagey color. What is it called? Sage. It's called sage. I think sage would be really fun too because it kind of brings the summer into the winter. So you can knit in the summer with a nice bright color, and then in the winter you have something a little bright when it's a little bit dreary outside.
Yep, little gray.
Yeah, this one is one of my favorites. I don't think that I could knit it with the level that maybe I could. Could I?
You could absolutely.
Okay, maybe I could knit it, but I love wearing them, and I have definitely stolen some of my mom's knit patterns that are like this. So yeah, I'm very much a fan of these, especially if you're someone who needs to use your fingers. I think these are perfect for that.
Yeah, great for driving if you want your hands to be warm, stuff like that.
All right, so this is the first pattern that will be free with the discount code through August 31st, and it's called the Cobblestone Mitts. All right, moving on, let's talk about the Cobblestone Hat.
Yes. So this was just kind of a set. It's a very similar stitch pattern, just knits and purls. There's nothing fancy here. Has a very simple decrease pattern at the top that makes this, probably you can't see it with this tag. Let's take the tag off.
I'll put it on for you.
Yeah. Pretty basic hat. One size fits a lot. My testing is my husband and my son have really large heads, and so when I'm testing the size to make sure it can fit everybody, I put it on their head, and this fits Dad and Sam, so I know that it should fit most anybody. This one was just done in a merino targhee, a natural color, and I think that's kind of good, fits with anybody. So
Let's see, we've got something similar here.
that's
This is Brothers and Sisters. There's
Yeah.
only a few of this left, but this is like a pretty close match.
Yeah, kind of
So-
a tan brown color. Again, a really simple pattern, quickly on and off your needles, and another kind of nice gift pattern, or if, for yourself. But that pattern will also be available with the same code.
Yep, and this is the Cobblestone Hat.
Again, one one skein, just a one skein pattern.
Yeah. We love a one-skein pattern.
I love a one skein pattern.
A nice quick knit.
Yep, yep.
And the last one is...
So this, since we were talking about the Steel Valley yarn crawl, this was one that I did many years ago where I dyed the yarn and then came up with the pattern. And this is called the Aquagheny Mini-Wrap. This is actually was designed for a sock set. So one skein of fingering weight yarn with another little bit of different colorway, normally for your heels, toes, and cuffs. But I made it into a little bandana. I'll put it on so you can kind of see. So nothing too heavy, but a nice little, you can put it on, give it a little knot underneath there, just a little something. And this is what I did. This is already free on my website. Some of you may already have this. It's been there. You can go there right now. You don't need a code. But this was a fun one. I like this one. Maybe at some point we'll mill some fingering weight and do something similar. But it has some texture in it. There's some bobbles. Do the bobbles, don't do the bobbles. It's really, whatever you like best.
Yeah. I also like the idea of wearing it. I'm sort of more of a hair scarf person. But it would look really pretty just like around your hair like this. And it's, because it's the fingering weight sock yarn, it's like super light.
Right.
So, yeah. I think this is a great design.
This would also work well with what I designed or what I dyed for the store for this year. You would just use one skein of without the edging, but believe me, I bet you if you're a knitter, you probably have a little bit of a color somewhere in your stash that you could add on. You could also do 2 skeins and just make this bigger. You would just continue kind of following the pattern, and you could make this as big as you want.
I think my favorite part of this is the little bobbles on it. They're so cute. This is a really good design.
Thanks. Yeah,
Great.
It was fun. I had to go find it when you asked me to find some one skein patterns.
Right.
So so great. Yeah, so those will be on the website. Make sure Isabel will put the code in again. It'll be below, and those will be free for the rest of the summer. So go grab them. If you knit them, let us know.
Yeah, definitely send us a photo.
I'd love to see whether or not you use our yarn or use whatever is in your stash. I would love to see that you knit it. So.
Yes, this would be a great stash project.
Yes, great stash project. Start those Christmas gifts now.
All right, so on to the next segment. Let's go to a farm update.
All right, we're gonna head out to the field. We're gonna go to some footage, and we're gonna meet one of our sheep. This is Dewberry. She is one of our friendliest sheep, but she's also a pest. When you come out, she is the first one to run straight up to you, but she will also paw at you, and she's kind of the leader of the pack. One last quick reminder, make sure you're signed up for our email newsletter. You can head to the website flowerhillfleeces.com to do that. We like to make sure that our email news subscribers are the first to know. So you will know exactly when yarn drops, the date and the time, and we like to reserve that for the people who share those emails with us. So make sure you're signed up for the newsletter.
And thanks for watching and spending your Monday at the mill.
Yeah. Happy Monday, everybody.
Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We love to hear from you guys, so thanks for being here.
Yep. Bye-bye.